Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the first official episode of Let's Play TEW. My name is Paul Laporte, and we are going to be going through Total Extreme Wrestling 2013, the incredibly in-depth wrestling sim. And if you don't know what TEW 2013 is, you can go ahead and check out our little episode 0 that we did to kind of introduce you to the game. But of course, as we actually go through and play it, you're going to find out more and more about this game and how in-depth it really is. We're going to go ahead and start right from scratch. A little funny story, I have already recorded about an hour and a half of gameplay prior to this, but due to some both audio and technical screw-ups on my end, we're just going to go ahead and start completely from scratch right from the beginning. So let's go ahead and select to start a new game. And of course, as I mentioned in the previous video, we are using a real-world database. So this is going to be wrestlers and companies that actually exist in the modern day. This is going to select which game area should be active. As you see, there are going to be companies from USA, Canada, Mexico, the British Isles, Japan, Europe, and Australia that we have options for. And then we will select a name for this game. So we'll go, Let's Play. That's what we'll go ahead and name that. Hopefully my keyboard isn't too loud and annoying for the microphone. Enter that in. And we are going to have all of these regions selected, so all of them will be fair game and will be simulated out in the game we're playing, which is going to take a little bit longer as far as load times go, but I'm going to edit through most of that for you, so you guys don't care about that. Okay, so the game has loaded up all of its information into the database, and now we have to actually create our character, essentially. Now, I've already made the details mostly of my character, and the only thing that we need to do beyond this is to select my user talents. So we're going to go ahead and go to user talents. Now this will actually let me put so many points into the different abilities that I have potentially as a booker or an owner. And they are negotiating, motivating, creativity, leadership, and diplomacy. I have always seen myself as more of a creative person, so I believe that that's my strong suit, so we're going to put some extra points into that. Now, it does say that I will get bonus points for every 100 shows that I complete, but I can only ever get 34 points in total, so we start off with 25. I don't know if I want to max out creativity. We'll go creativity at like an 8. Let's see, what else am I good at? Motivating? I think so. I think I'm fairly motivational person. Diplomacy, I think I can be pretty diplomatic. I don't want to overload these too much. Negotiating, obviously we're going to put like 4 points into that. We'll put 4 points into leadership, and we have one more left to use. I'm going to take 1 out of diplomacy because I can be kind of a dick sometimes. And we'll put that into motivation there. So this is going to be our starting type for how my talents will suit me in this game initially. So go ahead and save that. We'll go over to preferences, and this just shows you the different sort of settings that you can use for the games, which just right now everything is selected. Won't go too heavy into these. This just is kind of like different reminders and ratings and things like that. Morale effects, momentum. So this is basically just kind of everything that can affect the game essentially will. We're going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to start off at the lowest reputation because who am I? I'm some donkey-brained asshole who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, at least according to the world at large, and perhaps to all of you out there. So we're going to go ahead and just start off at the lowest reputation, select that, and now I have been entered as a user avatar. Let's see, there are unused characters in the database. Would you like them all to be removed from the game world? Unused characters, unused user characters. Yeah, go ahead and remove them. Fuck those guys. All right, so now I have to select the company that I want to start the game with. And we have a lot of choices here. We have about, let's see, 25, 30 choices. Now, there are a lot of other companies, but these are the ones that I can use that are currently active. And I am going to choose, and if you looked at my profile, you'll probably know already, and it's probably in the title of this video too, so no sense trying to like act like I'm surprising anybody. Squared Circle Wrestling, we're going to go ahead and bring them back. We're going to bring them back from the dead and bring them back to prominence and get the little Northeast independent promotion that could and hopefully make it the little Northeast independent promotion that will. So I'm going to go ahead and select myself as the booker, which means that we're not going to have an owner as of right now, which will come into play potentially a little later on. So we're going to start off. And I am the head booker of Squared Circle Wrestling. All right, let's go ahead and start things off. Now, this is kind of the initial splash screen, which will give me information about all the other things that are going on. There's a little news article about me here. And shock news. 2CW last night handed the reins of power to Paul Laporte, who has become their new head booker. The surprise news also triggered some rumors that the promotion will see a whole host of challenges to their roster within the next few weeks, as the new man looks to make his mark as quickly as he can. Now, the interesting thing here is that because 2CW in this update was listed as a closed promotion, I have no roster. I have no champions. I am starting completely from the ground and working up. Go to roster, nothing here. I'm the only guy listed. And you'll see here that we have messages from our personal assistant. I have no events scheduled. I need at least 16 active wrestlers on the roster to avoid looking amateurish. I haven't assigned any announcers. I need to be assigned a position on the roster. No title belts, no storylines. So we are starting literally from the very, very bottom, and we are going to go ahead and work our way up. Now, my plans for how I'm going to do this is I am going to take as close to the initial core local 2CW roster that I can, and then start with that as my base, and then add some bigger independent names on a kind of month-to-month basis beyond that. So let's go ahead and select our first wrestler that we are going to add to the roster. Get out of here, go into the worker listings, and I am going to give a little shout out to my boy Studley Steve McKenzie here, who is one half of the Electric Dream Machine, which was a tag team in 2CW right up until the end, and we are going to negotiate with him. So, of course, he's willing to listen to offers from 2CW, because right now he's currently listed as unemployed. And this gives you a look of the contract for this, and it says it's a pay-per-appearance contract. The dollar amounts for the lower independent tiers are skewed a little high. Anybody who has done work in independent promotions know that $240 for an appearance is generous, but we'll go ahead and just kind of that is kind of what the low end is for this game. The contract's lasted for 3 years for unlimited appearances. Roll in the roster as whatever is needed. Utilize you normally. Normal push. Expect to be available for all shows on nights where 2CW is your primary employer, so on and so forth. No extra bonuses, no sweetening. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to make this offer. We're going to go ahead to be okay with the 3-year unlimited appearances here, because this is going to be, like I said, he is going to be our base. He's going to be one of our hometown local guys who we're going to look to potentially have on every show. Go ahead and make him that offer. And that's going to ask if we want to make the contract offer official. We're going to go to yes. And the offer has been made, and then we'll hear back from Steve when he has an answer. Okay, so that's what the contract negotiation looks like. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go ahead and fast forward. I'm going to offer contracts to my initial starting group of people, which is going to be wrestlers, as well as a couple referees and maybe an extra announcer. I'm going to take on one of the announcer roles and maybe a road agent or two. We're going to go ahead and offer those positions to people, and I'm going to fast forward it a few turns in the future once we have our base roster set, and then we're going to go ahead and go from there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I have gone ahead and gone through my roster picks and tried to sign some contracts, and we have a pretty close to the original, or at least the final 2CW roster prior to them closing. I did make a couple changes here and there, but you'll see, if you are a fan of 2CW wrestling, you'll see a few familiar names. Of course, Ben Hameen, the notorious evil foreigner. We have Cheech, Colin Delaney, Cherry Bomb, Dalton Castle, who, according to this game, is still kind of a rookie, so I got him on the cheap, luckily. Dick Justice, Squirrel Loco, Isis Effects, Jay Freddy, so on and so forth. Couple other names I have added beyond the initial 2CW roster is I had to sign a couple referees, which I just kind of grabbed whoever was available. Referees surprisingly expensive, actually, although I guess that kind of makes sense because they're going to be working in, multiple matches a night. I have 2 referees to start off with. I have also signed on Monty Sop, aka Billy Gunn, as he's going to be our road agent and presumably the color commentator. Hopefully he can do both of those at the same time. I'm not sure how that works within the game, but I brought him in figuring he had wrestled for 2CW in the past, and I need somebody as a road agent, and in this game the road agent kind of dictates the matches and determines how they're going to go. So I decided to pick him up, and again, you can imagine he wasn't cheap. We're paying him over $1,400 per show, but again, because he is kind of dictating how the matches go, I'm going to hopefully get my money out of him. As far as other names we've picked up for wrestling, I picked up Bobby Ocean, who is a well-known Northeast independent wrestler who actually came to prominence with fellow CTQ crew members Scott and Evan Fellows in In Your Face Wrestling, and he's done some other stuff regionally since then and still comes back there every now and again. Very good wrestler. And then I also picked up my boy Prakash Sabar from Chikara, who I needed somebody on the lower card, and I needed somebody for Bin Hameen to manage, so I figured I would pull a United Nations member from Chikara, and then that could be Bin Hameen's charge, and maybe throw them in as another tag team. So this is what we have set up right now. This is going to be our main core roster. You'll also notice this name here, Bill Behrens. We have an owner. This guy who, if you follow wrestling, is well known as an agent, actually, of wrestlers. Apparently has purchased 2CW. So we'll take a look at the goals that he has set for us right now. So apparently these are our goals. The financial balance of 2CW must have improved to at least $75,000 within about 2 years. 2CW could not have fallen below a small size by the end of about the same period, 2 years, 3 months. I cannot hire or extend the contract of anybody who is known to have problems with the law, and I cannot hire any wrestler who is classed as a psychopath. So those are the rules that are going to be set for me that I have to abide by as a booker. And that is the core roster that we have right now. Now I'm going to be bringing in some initial names for the debut weekend, which I'm going to be doing a weekend show. So I'm going to be doing 2 shows over the course of 2 days, and I'll get into the details of that a little bit further on. But this is where we currently stand. I'm going to now look into getting in a couple bigger names and then setting up a schedule, and then we're going to try and work towards getting our first card underway. So let's go ahead, and I will fast forward at this point to the next big section in the rebuilding of Squared Circle Wrestling. Alright, so we've gone ahead and added a few more members to our roster, in addition to our initial crew of people. I have picked up some hot names from the independent scene that are going to round out potentially this weekend and maybe even future events going forward. So taking a look at some of the names that we have additionally signed, we have AR Fox, who, for those of you who like the independent scene and like Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, a guy doesn't need any introduction. Really great, impressive high flyer, and somebody who has wrestled for 2CW in the past. Let's see who else we have here. We have Eddie Edwards, who has of course, worked forever in Ring of Honor and in TNA, is currently tagging with Davey Richards, which he has done forever, but he is, I believe, the tag team champions in TNA right now, so he's a good pick. A little bit pricey, but I think he's going to be worth it. Heidi Lovelace, who is a great female wrestler who works for Jakara and just all over the place for different women's promotions. I picked up Jessica Havoc and Sami Callahan. Jessica Havoc, again, another wrestler who's wrestled in TNA and just is an independent stalwart. Worked for 2CW a lot. Sami Callahan, 2CW's final champion, and of course, formerly Solomon Crow in NXT, and he just works everywhere now, just absolutely everywhere. So I wanted to bring him in, of course, because he was in 2CW's canon, 2CW's final champion. Let me see, Matt Cross, son of Havoc from Lucha Underground, who also works in the Northeast independent scene, picked him up, as well as Prince Puma Ricochet. So we are going to try and put on just a dynamite opening weekend with these guys. This is my final roster that I'm going to select going into that weekend. We are 11 days away from the first of our 2-night extravaganza return, And now we are going to go ahead and just fast forward to that and show you the matches that I am planning to have for the first night and then for the second night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've gone ahead and booked the matches for both night 1 and 2 for 2CW The Rebirth. Now, if we just take a quick look here, we are still 11 days away, but what I've gone ahead and I've done is I've pre-booked everything, so this is just kind of me jotting out everything in advance, and barring any injuries or anything like that, this is what our cards are going to be for night 1. Again, these matches are not in any particular order. Once we get to the actual booking screen, then I'll be able to order them out and put titles on the line and things like that. But this is what we have planned for each night. For night 1, we have AR Fox versus Matt Cross versus Ricochet. That's going to be a good match, I imagine. Bobby Ocean taking on Jason Axe. For the 2CW Tag Team Championship, we're going to have a 3-way tag team match between Colin Delaney and Cheech, aka To Infinity and Beyond, versus Punisher Van Slyke and Kevin Graham, and Studley Steve McKenzie and Guerrero Loco, aka the Electric Dream Machine. So that's going to be for our tag team title. I'm going to have a match between Eddie Edwards and Heidi Lovelace, a singles match between Isis Effects and Pepper Parks. Jay Freddy is going to be taking on Dalton Castle in the semifinals for the World Title Tournament, or the Heavyweight Title Tournament. Jessica Havoc is going to be taking on Cherry Bomb. Prakash Sabar is going to be taking on Dick Justice. This is probably going to be the opener. Again, these are not in order. And then the other semifinals for the World Heavyweight Championship going to be Sami Callihan taking on Sean Carr. Night 2 of 2CW The Rebirth, we are going to have Bobby Ocean versus Dick Justice versus Pepper Parks. Cheech and Isis Effects taking on... I'm sorry, this is going to be a 4-way. Cheech versus Isis Effects versus Jessica Havoc versus AR Fox. So we're going to have a fatal 4-way match there. We're going to have Cherry Bomb and Heidi Lovelace taking on the newly crowned 2CW Tag Team Champions, spoilers, the Electric Dream Machine, Steve McKenzie and Guerrero Loco. Colin Delaney is going to be taking on Ricochet. Dalton Castle is going to be taking on Sami Callihan in the finals of the 2CW Heavyweight Title Tournament. Eddie Edwards is going to be taking on Punisher Van Slyke. Isis Effects is going to be facing off with Prakash Sabar. Jay Freddy is going to be taking on Jason Axe, reigniting their long-standing feud. And Matt Cross is going to be taking on the hometown boy, Sean Carr. So this is Night 1 and Night 2 of 2CW The Rebirth. This is what we have tentatively planned. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring this episode of Let's Play TEW to a close, and we are going to start up the next episode, booking our big comeback weekend, and then we're going to see how it all works out. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out all of our other shows on Changing the Questions, and we'll see you soon.